Let's rewind the clock to around the year 1000 CE. India, this wartime wasn't just about battles and kings. It was a land of immense wealth, glittering temples, flourishing farms, and a culture that amazed travelers from all over the world. The political map of India was like a mosaic. Instead of one great empire, there were many powerful kingdoms. In the south, the Cholas ruled with unmatched naval power, sending their ships across the seas to Sri Lanka and even Southeast Asia. In the east, the Palas of Bengal were known not only for their armies, but also for great centers of learning like Nalanda, where scholars from Tibet, China, and beyond came to study. In Gujarat, the Chalukyas guarded the western ports that connected India with Arabia. And in central India, the Rashtrakutas left behind incredible art and architecture carved into stone. Each dynasty was wealthy and strong in its own way, but they rarely united, and this would later leave them vulnerable. India's reputation in the wider world was that of a land overflowing with wealth. Gold, gems, and spices filled its markets. Gold wasn't just currency, it was poured into temples, worn as ornaments, and circulated in trade. Foreign travelers who stepped onto Indian soil often wrote of dazzling riches, of markets filled with silks, pearls, and spices. The bustling ports of Gujarat, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu became the bridges between India and Arabia, Africa, and even distant China. But the true foundation of India's wealth lay in its fertile soil. Farmers across the subcontinent cultivated rice, wheat, sugarcane, and cotton. Ingenious irrigation tanks, canals, and water reservoirs turned dry land into green fields. The Cholas in particular were masters of water management, ensuring steady harvests to feed their armies and their people. Cotton textiles dyed with natural colors and woven into fine cloth became one of India's most famous exports. Arab traders carried this fabric across the seas, calling it unmatched in beauty and quality. Temples were the beating heart of cultural and economic life. They weren't just sacred places of worship, but also the centers of community, wealth, and art. The Chola temples, like the magnificent Brihadeswara at Thanjavur, rose like stone mountains, covered with sculptures that told stories of gods and kings. Inside, temple treasuries held land grants, jewels, and gold offerings, functioning almost like banks of the era. Around them, music, dance, and festivals brought people together. Bronze sculptors cast the graceful form of Nataraja, the dancing Shiva, while temple courtyards echoed with the rhythms of Bharatanatyam and the sound of the Veena. Trade carried India's culture and wealth far beyond its borders. Across the Indian Ocean, ships loaded with spices, silks, ivory, and gemstones sailed to Arabia, Africa, and Southeast Asia. In return, merchants brought in fine horses from Arabia for the Indian cavalry, precious silk from China, and rare luxuries from Rome and East Africa. Ports like Calicut, Cambay, and Nagapattinam bustled with traders speaking Arabic, Tamil, Persian, and Chinese, making India one of the most connected civilizations of the age. But India's treasures were not only material. It was also a land of extraordinary knowledge. Great centers of learning like Nalanda and Vikramashila flourished, teaching philosophy, astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. Students traveled from distant lands to learn here. Astronomers observed the skies, refining calendars and star charts. Mathematicians developed algebra and the use of decimals. Physicians practiced Ayurveda, using herbs and treatments that continue to influence medicine even today. Knowledge was as valuable as gold, and India shared it generously with the world. Yet even in this time of brilliance, shadows were beginning to gather. The many kingdoms of India, proud but divided, often fought each other instead of uniting. From the northwest, ambitious rulers looked at India's wealth with hungry eyes. Soon Mahmud of Ghazni would ride through the mountain passes with his armies, raiding temples and cities. For centuries afterward, waves of invaders would pour in, drawn by the riches of this land. So if we look back 1,000 years, India appears as a land of extraordinary contrasts. Powerful kingdoms, glittering gold, fertile farms, breathtaking temples, vibrant trade, and brilliant learning. It was admired across the world for its prosperity and culture. And yet, its divisions made it vulnerable to the great changes that were about to reshape its history. This was India on the eve of transformation, wealthy, proud, and radiant, standing at the edge of a new chapter in time. If you enjoyed this journey back into India's past, follow for more untold stories of our history.